Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to wish you all a very warm welcome to the DCU Postgraduate Student Recruitment Evening. It's brilliant to see so many people join us this afternoon to learn about postgrad study within Dublin City University, which is also known as DCU. We have people joining us today from Dublin, Galway, the US, India, Spain, Italy, and many other regions across the world, and you are all very welcome. By way of introduction, my name is Niall McGovern, and I am the Postgraduate Student Recruitment Officer within DCU, and I am going to be hosting today's event. Before we move into the event itself, I want to share the schedule with you so you know what to expect over the next maybe 60 minutes or so. So at the moment, you should be able to see the event schedule on screen. So we have some opening words from our president, Derek Keogh. I will then give you a very quick introduction to DCU, just to give you a bit of background about the college itself, where we're based and who we are. After that, then we have 6 current and past students with us here today who are going to be sharing their insights and experience with us from the point of view of a postgrad student within DCU. At 5:05, we are going to be inviting all of our international students, mainly non-EU students, to go into a separate breakout room where you get an opportunity to meet 2 members of our DCU International Office. That's Bridget and also Tiago, and they will be able to bring you through a presentation and share information with you that's specific to non-EU prospective students within DCU. And while our non-EU students are in that breakout room, I will then go through just a 10-minute presentation to introduce you to a number of different opportunities for postgraduate funding. And then finally, we should be closing up at roughly 5:15. Down the bottom of the screen there, you will also see in orange font that we will be running 2 Q&A sessions on tomorrow, Friday, the 9th of December, and Monday, the 12th of December from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're going to basically be online all day, both days, to answer any questions or concerns that you might have about postgrad study within DCU. I will be sending out an email this evening, where I'll be able to share all of the information and the link to that platform too. So you will have the option to log on and ask as many questions that you may have. Let me see. Our president, Derek Keogh, wanted to share a quick message with all of our guests today, to welcome you on to possibly the first DCU event that you have attended. So just a few words from our president.
Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for your interest in postgraduate studies here at Dublin City University. DCU is Ireland's University of Enterprise and Impact, and we're focused on giving all our students and all of you a transformative experience. We're known for our excellent, innovative and industry-related programmes, as well as our people-first approach to teaching and learning, which puts you at the very centre. So there are many reasons why you would pursue postgraduate studies. Maybe you want to accelerate your career path, maybe you want to change your profession altogether, or perhaps you just want to pursue a passion and expand your horizons. Whatever your reason for any one of those, I'm confident that DCU has a course that will help you achieve your goals. So this event gives you a chance to hear directly from current and past postgraduate students, to hear about their experience at DCU and also to hear from employers. So staff and students will be available to you to answer any questions you may have about the programmes, about the demands of the programmes, and how their experience here has benefited them. So thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you here, hopefully, in 2023. Hello.
Brilliant. So to echo Dara's points, we are delighted that you are considering postgraduate study, and we're even more excited that you're considering DCU as your place to study. Within DCU, we have over 90 postgraduate taught courses that you can choose from, focusing in areas such as business, health, science, engineering, computing, humanities, and also social sciences as well. All of these courses are listed on our website, but in the meantime, I would like to give you a brief introduction to DCU. So DCU, we are a university. We have over 18,000 students. 20% of our students are international, and they represent over 120 nationalities here, which is amazing, which makes us extremely diverse. We are ranked in the top 2% of higher education institutes globally. We've 3 different academic campuses, and we've over 90 postgraduate taught courses that you can choose from. In terms of in terms of where we are, over to the right-hand side of the screen there, you will be able to see a map of Dublin. So we are based in Dublin, Ireland. Dublin City is split in 2, north and south, by way of the River Liffey. So highlighted on screen right now, you will see just an orange box around the city centre within Dublin. North of the city centre are our 3 campuses, and north of our campuses again is Dublin Airport. So we're basically halfway between the city centre and also Dublin Airport. We're 6 kilometres to Dublin Airport and 6 kilometres to Dublin City Centre, so we are quite accessible. In terms of the 3 different campuses that we have, so on screen now you should be able to see our St. Pat's campus, which is based in Drumcondra. Straight across the road from there, we've got our All Hallows campus, and both of these campuses mainly cater for students who are studying education within DCU. And a bit further up the road, we've got our Glasnevin campus, which is the largest of the 3 campuses, and it mainly caters for students who are studying in the areas such as business, health, science, engineering, computing, and humanities and social sciences as well. And the final slide I want to share with you today is just to give you a sense of how DCU is structured. So within DCU, we split ourselves into 5 different faculties. We've got the Faculty of Engineering and Computing, we've got DCU Business School, we've got the Faculty of Science and Health, the Institute of Education, and the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Within each of those faculties then, there are a number of courses, postgraduate taught courses, that are available to you. And the reason why I share this particular slide with you here today is because I hope it gives you a better understanding of how we're structured, which will then support you in your research about postgraduate programs that are available to you within DCU. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here at the moment, and I just need to move my screen around again. I'm very sorry. Okay, so moving forward on to the next stage of today's event, where we will have 2 panel discussions, and you will have the opportunity to hear from both current and past postgraduate students who've joined us today to share their experiences and insights with us. Our first panel discussion is amongst 3 current postgraduate students within DCU, and our second panel discussion is with 3 past students from DCU. Through total coincidence, the 3 available current postgraduate students happen to be female, and the 3 available past students happen to be male. So we've actually got a female dominant panel and then also a male dominant panel, but I'm sure that would be okay. So without any further delay, I am delighted to welcome Sinead Mooney, Louise Walsh, and also Caoimhe McGowan onto screen at the moment.
Hi Niall, how are you?
Brilliant. Okay, great. So before we get into any questions themselves, I'm going to ask you to each introduce yourselves and tell us what course you're studying, whether it's full-time or part-time, and also what year you're currently in. So Louise, we might start with yourself, if that's all right.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Louise Walsh and I'm currently in year 1 of a part-time executive MBA course at DCU.
Brilliant. And Sinead, you might move to yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Sinead and I am a full-time Master's in Emerging Media student, and so I'm currently in 1 year of a 1-year degree.
Brilliant. And Caoimhe, to you.
Hi there, I'm Caoimhe and I'm in my 2nd year of the Professional Masters of Education in Primary Teaching. And yeah.
Brilliant. So Louise, I might go back to yourself, just considering that you opened it up. So you're in year 1 of your MBA, which is obviously part-time, and you're now approaching the end of semester 1. How have you been finding the course itself, and is it what you expected?
Yeah, so I think going in, I had some kind of reservations about how difficult it was going to be, especially because I'm working as well, so I'm doing a part-time. I think it's completely fine, to be honest. I'm coping well, thank God. When I spoke to a lot of past students before I joined the course, which I would actually encourage new students coming in to also do. And they really put my mind at ease that it is, doable. And I've heard of crazy stories, you need to do 30 hours a week with the MBA. That's not practical or doable or necessary. And even the faculty members at DCU will tell you that. It gets busy up when assignments are due, but it's not the same intensity throughout the course. And I think I'm also learning a lot doing things that I've never done before. For example, marketing, accounting, psychology. It's all very interesting. And I'm also learning a lot from my classmates, which come from a range of different backgrounds and approach things from a completely different perspective that I would. So yeah, I think I'm really enjoying it and really learning a lot.
Brilliant. And Louise, just there you touched on, I suppose, the expectation in terms of time, in terms of actually attending lectures, but also independent study in the evening time. How do you manage that time? Like, it might not, this expectation might not be what you thought it may have been, but how do you manage that in terms of work, attending lectures, the study, maybe hobbies or sport, whatever it may be that you might have
Yeah.
within your own personal time?
Yeah, so I guess before I joined or before I, enrolled in the program, I first of all spoke to my family, and made sure that they were on board, that they could kind of take things off my hands as much as they could. I think that's, to get buy-in from your support network around you, if particularly if you are working at the same time, is really, really crucial. And I think, yeah, I think it's just you manage, you kind of learn. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but everyone says it, it's kind of like an unwritten rule for part-time MBAs when you're working, is you kind of learn to strategically read. You don't have to read everything. You can't read everything, it's not possible. But you kind of learn to read around, your assignment topic and then your particular area of interest. So that would be particularly applicable to your job, for example. So the focus of the course is really, class discussion, learning from your peers, and also applied learning. So that's something, yeah, I just think that everything we're learning on the course, you can really apply it to your job outside of DCU as well.
Okay, that's excellent. Thanks very much for that. Sinead, I'm going to move on to you. So you're the opposite to Louise, as your course is a full-time course. So how is that in terms of like your class timetable, again, the independent study and kind of personal life and how you can manage that?
Yeah, thanks so much. I've been finding it really doable, honestly, because I think I was a little bit afraid, obviously, going from, because I went straight from my undergraduate into my postgraduate, so I wasn't sure how big the work increase would. And it's good because it does feel like a natural evolution from how many hours I had before. And yeah, so I usually at the moment, my timetable is very convenient. Like they've genuinely like organized it like around what's good for people. So I'm in 4 days a week and we'll have a lecture and then a workshop immediately after. And everything is kind of very well placed. I feel like I have a good balance of time in class and time in the workshops versus time to spend doing independent study and learning outside. And I've even been able to keep up my engagement in society life and some of the extracurricular stuff at DCU, which I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to do. So I'm really glad I was able to do that as well. So I've been finding it quite manageable. I think it's just a matter of learning to be strategic, kind of like I've started kind of keeping tasks in my calendar and that sort of thing. It can seem very daunting, but I find with like a good bit of time management, it's absolutely grand, honestly. And I feel like I get like the hours that I am in, I get a lot out of. Like I don't feel like I'm just coming into class for no reason. I always feel like I learn a lot each day, every week.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And it's actually funny that both yourself and Louise had touched on, I suppose, being a bit more strategic in how you manage yourself and your time to really optimize the time that you're in college or you're working or you're at home or whatever it may be. Brilliant. And then Caoimhe, moving to yourself, so you're also a full-time student. Are your experiences fairly similar to Sinead's?
Yeah, it actually would be. Sorry, I forgot to actually mention that it's full time. So I think the actual timetable will be slightly different because I know Sinead was saying they have a bit of a balance between lectures and workshops. So I'm in the second year now of the PME and it's mainly all placement, but in first year, your whole first semester, the whole first semester is lectures, and then the second semester is placement. So I think that's actually it actually works for the course, that it's actually quite a nice balance. And it is 9 to 6 most days, which sounds very full on. But I suppose I took about 3 years after my undergrad. So I was kind of used to that working life. So if anyone is going into the master's from a 9 to 5 job, it's actually great because you're used to that kind of routine and everything. And in terms of workload, it is a lot, but similar to like what Louise was saying, it's a lot of kind of like peer learning. Like I learned a lot from the other people on my course, and of course, like we all came from different backgrounds, all had different undergrads and such, but we were all new to teaching itself. So but yeah, so the workload is quite a lot, but it is manageable in the sense that you are given stretch out guidelines, in the sense that the deadlines might be, for some assignments might be maybe at the middle of the semester and then some of them will be at the end. So they are spread out nicely, and so that it is manageable and it isn't like unrealistic or anything. But as I said, like it's full on but really enjoyable. I think if anyone, you know, wants to do teaching, you wouldn't mind the workload, you know, it isn't actually and same with obviously Sinead was saying with like extracurricular. So going in, I kind of thought, okay, social life is going to be gone, but that's really not the case. Like, and I actually found that having extracurricular things to go to, especially in DCU, because there's so many societies as well, it really helps because it's important to have that kind of balance and to be able to zone out and everything. And I know a lot of us are kind of into theatre, and we were involved in DCU drama and everything. So there's actually a fair few people who are into teaching and into that as well. So yeah, I actually found that really important and really helpful.
Okay, brilliant. So you are essentially managing, I suppose, going to college, but also managing your social and personal life as well, which is obviously really important to make it sustainable in terms of studying for a longer period of time. So that's brilliant. Louise, I might return to yourself again, and just talk about, I suppose, your motivations behind actually going back to complete an MBA. And like, as you said, like you had conversations with people in advance of actually committing to get a better understanding of the course, what is required, the time commitment, and so on. And you went forward with it. What were your motivations, or what are your motivations?
Yeah, so for me personally, it was around career progression ambitions. So my background is as a scientist, and then I've been working in the business development space for more than 4 years. So I kind of wanted to complement that kind of research and analytical educational background with business fundamentals and kind of the best practices by going to DCU Business School. And I guess my ambitions and goals in doing the course is to help me transition to more kind of strategic development and leadership roles in the future. And I do think the MBA will give me a lot of credibility as a future leader, and DCU Business School has a lot of accreditations, which is always good to have on the CV.
Yeah, brilliant. And just a few moments ago, you had reference around the peer-to-peer learning that happens within the classroom. What's the diversity like within the classroom in terms of maybe experience or the sectors or industries that people are coming from? And how
Yeah.
is that, I suppose, valuable?
Yeah, so we've CEOs, we've managing directors, and then, you know, up to kind of associate directors, like range of different levels. There's also some people who, you know, are entrepreneurs as well. So a range of different backgrounds. In terms of different industries, there's pharma industry, or sorry, for the pharmaceutical space, energy, you know, pathology. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. A whole range of different industries, and it's just really great to get that different perspective. And also, you know, I guess I was maybe pigeonholing myself as well a little bit, and, you know, thinking I could only go for like a pharmaceutical industry potentially, whereas it's kind of opened my, you know, thinking to maybe, not that I will, but, you know, potentially I could transition out of pharma completely if I wanted to. So yeah.
Brilliant. And is that class discussion and peer-to-peer learning, has that been promoted in the classroom, that you are given a platform to really share your experiences?
Yeah, definitely. So for most of the classes, we're kind of given case studies to read beforehand. So kind of half the class will be kind of the class having a chat about the case studies, and then we all kind of bring in our own experiences from our own job roles. So yeah, the class discussion is definitely encouraged, and yeah, I think everyone sees the value of doing the class discussions as well.
Okay, excellent. So it seems like there's a nice balance between, I suppose, literature or content being shared, but also extracting information from students and experience from students, which is brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. And the everything is really to do with applying the learning as well. And, you know, what we learn about somebody may share, you know, well, actually that's applicable to me when XYZ happened in my current role, for example.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. And then Sinead, just moving to yourself again. So what about your motivation? So obviously you were going straight from being an undergraduate student straight into a postgrad. What were your motivations to go on and study further, rather than maybe going into employment, for instance?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is just like because my previous course was in DCU as well, in the undergraduate communications course, so I just really enjoy being in DCU, so that was definitely a part of it. I think my specific motivations behind wanting to do a master's degree is my degree at undergraduate would have been about kind of two-thirds theory and then one-third kind of practical media work. So what I wanted to do is both expand on the stuff that I'd already learned, like audio, video, photography, all of that. And then I knew that the emerging media degree in DCU have some other things that I hadn't done before, like responsive media, which is like app interface design and all of that sort of thing. And then also like visual design, screenwriting, other things like that. So I thought if I did the master's, I would gain like be kind of more well-rounded graduate, and I'd like be able to kind of pursue more roles kind of to do with like sort of practical digital media kind of editing and that sort of stuff, which is where my interests lie. So it was nice because at undergrad I had a very kind of like broad base, which I did enjoy. And then with this master's, it's still kind of broad in a way that I really like, but it's kind of slightly more focused on that sort of practical media element. And I feel like I'll come out of it kind of having more skills to show to employers and stuff. So I feel like it'll kind of let me give me the opportunity to go where I want to with my career in the long term by doing it now. Basically.
Brilliant. Great answer. Brilliant. No, thanks very much. And then Caoimhe, I'm going to move to you, and I'm going to ask the same question of both Sinead and also Louise, which will be the final question. Like, it's not that long ago, I suppose, when you were deciding whether or not you were going to complete a postgrad and commit to a postgrad within DCU. At the time, did you have any concerns or worries when committing to it? And I suppose, how did you come to that decision, Caoimhe?
Yeah, so when I decided that I wanted to do the postgrad, it was during the height of COVID. So I was kind of thinking like, oh, you know, because obviously everything was so uncertain. But my main thing was because I just heard that, like, you know, like any master's program, but that's BME be quite full on and a lot of work. But similar to like what Louise did, I went and I spoke to a few people who did the BME in DCU, and they're all same thing, that, you know, obviously it's a lot of work, but like that it's absolutely worth it. So I think as well, because my undergrad, there would have been actually quite a bit of an overlap with Sinead's undergrad, so I did media and Irish, so it was quite broad like that. So because obviously I really enjoyed Irish, and I've been teaching grinds to children and everything, and I also was teaching part-time as a dance and drama teacher. So I knew kind of, you know, I wanted to do teaching, but then obviously looking into it in DCU and speaking to other people's experiences, even those who were affected by COVID, like they were kind of saying that like DCU managed it very well, and they still got an experience, that still got to teach, even if some of it was teaching online, and they still found it very beneficial. So, and obviously I loved doing my undergrad in DCU, so I was very eager to go back. So it was good to hear that other people had very positive experiences. So yeah, so I just so then obviously I started preparing obviously for an application then. But yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And Louise, I know you had mentioned at the beginning that you had spoken to maybe current students who had studied in DCU to help them share information to help with your decision-making process. But in terms of the concerns or the answers or the questions that you wanted answered, what were they, or kind of what were your own concerns?
Yeah, so it was around workload for me. So I also have a young child that I obviously want to spend as much time with as possible. And then, you know, just getting my work done as well. Everyone, you know, got some good advice at the start. It was kind of, you know, rank your family number one, your job number two, and then the MBA number three, because your family are the most important, and your job, who, you know, that's how you make your livelihood. And then, you know, the study is important, but you have to kind of put it into those perspectives. But I think, you know, all my concerns by speaking to the past students were kind of, you know, dissipated. I understood that, you know, you kind of had to strategically read. You can't absorb everything that's kind of, you know, suggested to read. And you just have to be realistic with your time and not beat yourself up about it. I also had financial concerns. So the MBA is expensive. And what I would encourage kind of postgraduates coming in is to kind of have a look at the range of scholarships that DCU offer. I was very fortunate to get a Gaelic Players Association scholarship for DCU, but it's always no harm in throwing in an application, even if, you know, it's not successful. It's always no harm to throw one in. You have to be in it to win it, as they say. But even if I didn't get the scholarship, even after kind of talking to the past MBA students, I still would have done the course, even though it's very expensive. Education is never wasted. You have to look at it as an investment in yourself, and something that you'll be reaping the rewards of for years to come.
Yeah, no, brilliant, Louise. And that's a really important point. And just considering that we actually have Sinead and Caoimhe on the call right now, So we actually have a reduced master's fee that's available. It's a 10% reduction on your postgrad fees for any alumni of DCU, so that is available. And as well as that, I will actually be doing a presentation at the end for maybe 5 or 10 minutes just to introduce people to postgrad funding opportunities within DCU. And within that is the scholarships and the Louise, but really, really important point to raise in terms of the concerns that people may have in committing to completing a postgrad. And then Sinead, finally to yourself, just in terms of your own concerns or that you may have had, and I suppose how you overcame those concerns in order to commit to postgrad study within DCU.
Yeah, so I guess I had some concerns, like I mentioned earlier, kind of around the workload. I was kind of lucky to be in a position where I knew of a student who had graduated from my undergrad the year before me, and he was doing the MSc in Emerging Media last year. So I got to kind of get in touch with him a bit about it, and that definitely helped alleviate my concerns. And I find in general, like in DCU, like if you email anyone or you email any or like get in contact with any of the student help, people are like very willing to just kind of have a chat with you. Like I feel like, and because I was in the School of Communications already, I knew a couple of the lecturers who are on my current course because I had them for some of my practical modules in my undergrad. So I was able to kind of get in touch with them as well. So I think there's like a lot of people you can contact if you have any of that sort of kind of trouble about it. And yeah, no, I think that was like my main one. And yeah, and I kind of didn't really know what to expect in terms of what kind of people would be in the course coming in. So I guess I yeah, I was a little bit worried about that as well. But it's a really great variety of people. Like there's people I recognize from the School of Communications undergraduate course, and there's people who come from completely different disciplines like education or Irish or like so many other different things. So like I feel very like at home and really confident that I made the right choice, and I'm really enjoying the course and all the things it's offering in terms of content. Yeah, very happy with how things have turned out.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Sinead. And also just on that point, I would like to remind people that we will be running a Q&A session tomorrow and also Monday. The reason why I say that is because Sinead touched on it, that she was in a privileged position, that she knew of people who are already studying within DCU or studying her specific course. So we will do our best to put people in contact with current students or past students within DCU if you would like to learn more about a course that you're interested in. And if you wanted to message us through that Q&A platform tomorrow, we will do our best to answer your questions, but then again, potentially link you in with current or past postgraduate students within DCU. So Louise, Caoimhe, Sinead, thanks so much for your time today, as well as your willingness, obviously, to share your experiences and insights with everyone. And we do really appreciate it, and we wish you the very best in your upcoming assignments or exams that you might have over the next maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But again, look, thanks very much for today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Niall. And best luck to everyone for next year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks very much. Okay, that's brilliant. So on our next panel then, we are going to hear from 3 of our past students who've graduated from DCU with postgraduate degrees over the last number of years. So without any further delay, I am going to welcome Ankit, Killian, and also Owen on the screen right now. Brilliant. That's great. So again, thanks for joining us here today. And similar to the previous panel, I might ask each of you just to introduce yourselves by telling us what you studied, and whether it was full-time or part-time, and when you graduated as well. Ankit, you're in the top left-hand corner there, so I might go to you first, if that's all right.
Not a problem at all. So my name is Ankit, and I'm originally from Mumbai, India, and I did my full-time master's last year, and I did it in MSc in computing, and I'm currently working with MasterCard as a software engineer too.
Brilliant. Killian, I might move to you now, if that's all right.
Yeah, I did a part-time master's in psychology and well-being there over 2 years, and just graduated this year. Yeah, I'm doing a doctorate in educational psychology now, following on from that. I'm not sure, is that covering everything?
Yeah, that's perfect. And Owen, on to yourself.
How are you doing? I graduated in 2018 with a master's in public relations and strategic communications. It was full-time. I'm currently self-employed, working with a couple of different companies in the events and marketing space.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Owen. Killian, moving back to yourself. So I suppose you're somewhat unique to the 2 others as you complete part-time postgrad How did that work for you in terms of class time, study time, work time, as well as your own personal time, which is a lot of balls to be juggling at once?
Yeah, like it's definitely it's a challenge. It's a challenge to juggle it all, to try and get like a bit of balance going there. But I suppose initially I had actually planned on doing the master's full time, but just the way things worked out with kind of work opportunities and that, I had the opportunity to work as a research assistant in DCU full time alongside the master's. So that kind of like swayed me into doing the master's part time. And I think it was a massive advantage now in retrospect, looking back doing it part time, because I had the opportunity to like tick a lot of boxes kind of for moving forward in my career and my education, when I could do that alongside studying. So my aim was kind of to move on to like a professional doctorate in psychology.
Brilliant.
And they're quite competitive, so there's a lot of boxes to tick there. So alongside my master's, I was able to work as a research assistant, and later on I was able to work like as an assistant psychologist and work with some other organizations that like really added to my CV. So that was kind of the major advantage of kind of going part-time for me.
Yeah, and Killian, just while you did speak with that around working for DCU full-time while you were doing your master's, to you, how important was it to have support from your employer, no matter if it's DCU or not, but just for your employer to support you in completing a master's while you're working?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's massive. It's massive. I suppose I was really lucky. My employers worked really closely alongside me there. So our lectures were kind of like during the day, so I needed a day off a week. So I had to work kind of flexibly, like in kind of the evenings to make up that work, or working extra time on other days. And you know, I suppose like my employers being part of the staff in DCU, they were really understanding of what was expected of me. So I was really lucky, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without that kind of support. And I suppose like my master's kind of coincided with a lot of the lockdowns, especially the first year of it. Like, so it was a lot of kind of adjusting to things as they kind of came up, and like changing, going into the office for a bit, back home, completely online again, and then going back in. So yeah, that support was really invaluable, really, to me, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great to know. Thanks, Killian. And Owen, unlike Killian, you were a full-time student. So can you just tell us a bit about, I suppose, what you did after you completed your undergrad degree, and how and when you decided when you wanted to complete a postgrad degree in DCU?
Yeah, so I was doing a Bachelor of Arts degree in St. Pat's. So it would have been studying English and Human Development, and it would have had a focus towards teaching. And that was a 3-year course. And coming to the end of my 3-year course in St. Pat's, I was fortunate enough to get elected to the Students' Union, which for people that wouldn't be that experienced on, it's essentially a year's working on the student body. So you'd be running campaigns, running different events, dealing with student issues, kind of working on policies. So I suppose working within that kind of sphere, within that environment, my kind of mindset changed a little bit, and had time to think about what chapter I wanted, what way I wanted to move next, and what way I wanted my career to move. And I actually spoke to a couple of different people within DCU itself, Derek Heo being one, to see, I suppose, where my skill set would be more suited. And there was a couple of different postgrads mentioned. One of them was the business management course, and then secondly, it was the course that I actually undertook, and that was the public relations and strategic communications. I suppose the reason why I did take that was it was a blended learning. So it was actually before any kind of talk about COVID came in. It was in 2017. So we were actually doing some lectures online and then more lectures in person. So it suited my calendar at that time because I was working a little bit as well. So we had some lectures in the evening time, say from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then more in the afternoon, and then some were obviously virtual as well. So I suppose the transition from undergrad to postgrad, at the start it was a little bit of a shock, all right, because I had been working for a year on events, working on campaigns, and to go straight back into study was difficult enough. But I suppose if you take the master's or a postgrad as a full-time job on the days you don't have college, it's a good way to look at it. Like if you get up at 9 or 10 and you go to the library, take your lunch break 1 or 2, stay until 6 or 7, have put some kind of structure on it. It was a good way to look at things, because you can kind of become overwhelmed at times and stay in the library really late and think you're productive, but after 7 or 8 in the evening, nothing good happens in the library. You're just going to get distracted and chat about Champions League game that's happening or something else that's happening. And it's good to put structure on that. And I found after the first couple of weeks of getting getting ready for it and getting set, that's what helped me.
Yeah, brilliant. And I suppose a lot of people are in a very similar position to yourself, where they complete their undergraduate degree. They might work for a year, 2 or 3 years to get a better sense of maybe what they enjoy and what area they'd like to focus in on. And that's when they might go back to complete a postgrad degree to specialize in a specific area. So you got that 1 year experience where you got a better sense of where you wanted to go with your career.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have a crystal clear focus on what I wanted to do going into the postgrad. I feel those that have a crystal clear focus are very fortunate. But you just have to go in with an open mindset of, okay, I'm 80% sure this is the right course. But once you're in it, then you obviously have to give your 100% and make the connections, make good relationships with lecturers, think about what you're going to do afterwards. There's no point going in and getting stuck and stressed about, I suppose, next week's assignment. Always kind of think 2 or 3 steps ahead and think about, right, it's December now, and then I'm done my master's in June and July. How am I going to get a job? I'm not going to get a job being finished and just being finished in June and getting a job in July. You kind of have to make the connections 3 or 4 months in advance and set that up and make the short steps to that.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent. And then Ankit, moving over to yourself, so you bring a very unique perspective to this discussion because you came to DCU as an international student. Could you just tell us a bit about why you chose DCU and why you I suppose researched about DCU and then why you actually came here, as well as kind of the settling in process and the adjusting process to not just DCU but also Dublin, Ireland too?
Yeah, for me, like it was more like a transition shift because firstly in terms of weather, it's a massive transition shift for us, like because the weather in India is usually like around 30 degrees unless you're from the north. So yeah, like in that case, I got used to the weather like slowly and steadily. But in terms of research, I would say like when I looked across like DCU, DCU and in general like about Ireland, they have like good research and development organizations. Like if you consider LERO and TSSG, they really offer good things. Like, and in terms of research, like when I consider DCU as well, it's really good. And moreover, like I had a friend who was an alumni at DCU, so I had already good reviews from him, and that helped me go through it. And before coming to DCU, like I was working with an organization in India as a software engineer. So I wanted to pursue that course, and DCU like ticked all the modules that I required on a particular course for masters. So that helped me like choose the course more easily. Coming over here, like I had opted for the campus accommodation because then you have that security staying on campus as well. And then like you don't have to worry, like it's all sorted before you come here, like so that way it was easy. And then like I got used to the lecturers, like everything is on campus, so it was very easy for me. And yeah, it was like I always say, like it's a very good experience for me at DCU, and DCU has given me a lot of recognition like as a student ambassador as well.
Brilliant, that's great, Ankit. And thanks very much for that as well. You've also obviously finished your degree and you're working with MasterCard here in Dublin at the moment. How's that going?
Yeah, so like it has been like nearly 5 months. Like I've completed 5 months working with MasterCard. So I'm working as a SC2, like I mentioned before. So it's in similar lines in what I did my master's and what my experience has been. And like that's what I would suggest every other student that's coming in, like always pursue your, like if you have experience, just pursue into that line of experience so that it helps you later on. That's what helped me now. So it's a very good experience. I'm learning a lot. It's a new start, so there's a learning process that's going on. But yeah, like liking it so far, and no complaint. Not too
That's
bad.
great, Ankit, and congratulations on that role as well.
Thank you so much.
I suppose just staying with the kind of career side of things. So, Owen, I'm pretty sure your postgrad also positively impacted your career. You currently work for yourself. Did the postgrad equip you with the skills, the knowledge, the confidence to pursue that particular career path, or how did it enable that kind of change or transition to be self-employed?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose one aspect that I did enjoy within the course was when there's, I suppose, different speakers or presenters coming in from the industry, whether they were past students of DCU or other lecturers, and I found it, very, very positive to like go up and introduce yourself after those kind of talks, say who you are, say what you wanted to do, and just kind of build those relationships. That probably would tie in with kind of being self-employed as well. Like you kind of do have to go out there, you have to be the one to break the ice first. Like no one's going to, I suppose, go and do it for you. And doing the masters in PR itself, like obviously PR is a lot around the brand. It's a lot around trying to I wouldn't say perfect an image, but it's trying to align what image you want of the brand you're working with out there in the world. So I found that quite useful as well. But the main thing was building connections with the people, building connections with the lecturers themselves, and then I suppose I didn't straight after college. I didn't go and become employed straight away by myself. I was working with a couple of different companies, and how I got those roles was actually when I was doing my dissertation. I was doing it on like sports sponsorship, and I would have went out and spoke to 6 or 7 different people in the space. And yes, I was interviewing them for the dissertation, but at the same time, I was getting connections on LinkedIn, writing little messages on LinkedIn saying, look, this is what I'm doing. Would you mind having 10, 15 minutes of your time? But at the same time, thinking in the back of my head to say, okay, well, look, if there's a job coming up in your company in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, give me a shout. So that definitely helped from my perspective anyway.
Excellent. And Owen, you touched on there during the course, there was maybe external speakers or past students come back into the class, and you found that really valuable. It's interesting because Louise spoke about that in the previous panel discussion around the shared learning and learning from other people, not just the lecturers. Were there many guest speakers that came in, or was that like something that was promoted within your particular degree, that kind of shared learning and peer-to-peer learning?
Yeah, I'd say nearly every month there would have been some kind of topic discussed. I remember there was a Teneo speaker coming in, which would be kind of a global PR agency. She was an ex-student of DCU. We had kind of guest lecturers that were working in the industry as well, which was brilliant because they could give you like real-time experience on the do's, don'ts, and everything that's happening in the space at the moment. And I think that's an element across most courses. Like DCU would try and bring in the real example rather than just being theory. You can actually see what you're learning in the real world, because that's very, very important too. You can't just go out and have the theory, but you need that like I suppose real life experience, and that's an element of the course I found very enjoyable.
Brilliant, that's great. And like leading into that as well is the kind of the network that you naturally develop while you're in class with a lot of, I suppose, high performing individuals too. And then the whole DCU alumni community is really, really important for when you graduate from DCU. You hold on to these connections and this kind of sense of community that is within DCU itself. The final question I'm going to ask, and Cillian, I'm going to go to yourself first, and then I'll move to Ankit and Owen. But obviously we have a lot of guests on the call here today that are thinking about committing to postgrad study. And from you, after completing postgrad study, graduating, and now looking back, what kind of advice would you give to individuals who are thinking about committing to postgrad study within DCU?
I think it's probably all about doing your research, really. You know, I kind of had spent a few years in between my undergrad and my master's working in different areas. I kind of worked abroad, I'd worked in the tech industry, and then I kind of came back to psychology. And when I was making that move back kind of into psychology, I was looking at loads of different kind of postgrad options and that kind of thing. I reached out to some of the staff in the School of Psychology in DCU, and I was able to organize meetings with them and talk to them about the courses that were available here in DCU, which was really, really helpful. And I suppose that networking actually probably led to like the job opportunity that I got during the course then as well. And I would have talked to a lot of people who are working, I suppose, in careers that I was interested in, or that were on, you know, further education courses that I was interested in. So I think to make that kind of decision, you really need to talk to people who have the kind of life experience, the work experience in those areas. And that'd be kind of number one, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. And just on that point, before I move on to Ankit and Noam, again, just another reminder that we do have that Q&A session happening tomorrow and Monday, which will give everyone on the call here today an opportunity to speak directly with staff members within DCU to share information. Ankit, I might move to yourself, if that's all right, just in terms of any advice that you would give someone considering to commit to postgrad study.
Yeah, so like for me, I know the very common question that every person that is applying for MSc in computing would be like from a job perspective, if we have enough jobs in Dublin or like in Ireland in general. So for one thing is like I have like we all know it, like DCU is known for its graduate employment rate. One, and for tech related jobs, there are ample amount of jobs over here, like in terms of tech. But it depends like how you are utilizing your experience, and if you are a fresher, how your skill set has been built. So you need to analyze yourself. Where do you like lie exactly, in what part of the system do you lie? So in that case, like if you are working as a, like if people from tech would know, like if you're working as a Java developer, then you get into software engineering and then you go for Java. And then like if there are people that I know that do Java, then go into data analytics and then do a job in Java, then like you learn something new, but then like it's a completely transitioning to a different state. So like doing things like properly analyzing, like Killian mentioned, like that will just help you on a further prospect as well, and like it will help you track your roadmap further as well. So that's the only advice that I would give. Otherwise, like it's a investment that you're making, that you're coming to a new country and doing things like as an international student. So it's a very big step for like any Indian coming here or anyone coming like from an international country. So yeah, like that's all. And whoever is going to come to Ireland in general or to DCU, all the best. Like that's all I would say.
Lovely, thanks, Ankit. And just something that you touched on there was DCU's graduate employment rate. So we are ranked #1 in Ireland for graduate employment rate, which is really, really important. And we want to make sure that we're equipping our students with the skills and the knowledge to make sure that they can find jobs after they graduate, and it is actually industry led and applicable to real life working life. So moving on to yourself now, just for the final, I suppose, piece, just about, again, advice for any prospective students who are considering postgrad study.
Yeah, it's kind of echoing what the guys have said already, but it's doing your research on the course, messaging someone that's related to it. I know that mightn't be possible, but if you're an international student, my recommendation would be to find a course coordinator or to find someone that's related to the course, and to message them. And generally, they will be quite helpful. Obviously, moving from somewhere across the world to Ireland is a big step. So if you could get someone, whether it be the course coordinator or someone related to that, and just ask them, okay, can I speak to a current student? Can I speak to an alumni? Generally, it'd be quite helpful. I suppose if you're an Irish student, I would basically the same thing. LinkedIn is a great tool. All businesses use it. Like if I got a message off someone that was coming to DCU next year, like you're not going to not reply to them. You're obviously going to be very helpful to them. Whether it's a 10-minute call on WhatsApp, Zoom, like more than happy to help, and I'm sure the guys are too. So I would say just make that first message, whether it's to someone that's currently studying, someone that has studied, or then obviously one of the lecturers. That's what I done. I was in between two minds whether I was going to go to DIT to do a similar business course or to DCU. I spoke to Derek Yo, who was president of PATS, the same PATS at the time, and he was very, very helpful. So I suppose that's my one note of advice. Just should be proactive, show your initiative, message, and people will help you.
Brilliant, that's great. So now to summarize, we have 3. Killian suggests that we research, Owen suggests we be proactive, and Ankit suggests that, or recommends that we ask questions and we be curious and find the information ourselves. So that's absolutely brilliant, lads. Just a massive thank you for myself and DCU, obviously, for making the time today. I am very conscious that all 3 of you are working and quite busy at the moment too. So we really do appreciate your giving up your time to be here today to share your experience and your insights with our guests.
No problem. Yeah. Thanks very much, Niall. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.
No problem. Okay, so while the guys there are just moving away, we have come to the point of the event where I will be asking all of our non-EU guests to follow the link within the chat, which I'm just about to send everybody now. So the message that's within the chat there, so anyone who is a non-EU student, if you were to follow the link there, it'll bring you to a separate Zoom meeting with the DCU international team, and they're going to be giving a specific presentation on DCU international and coming to DCU. And then for anyone else that's domestic or EU, feel free to hang on here for another maybe 5 or 10 minutes where I'll be sharing information around postgrad funding opportunities. But anyone who is a non-EU student, please feel free to follow the Zoom link and you'll be met with my colleague Tiago and also Bridget. So we might just give it 30 seconds and then we'll move on to postgrad funding. And that will be the last 5-6 minutes of today's event. While we are doing that, I do want to take the opportunity just to remind people again of the Q&A event that's happening tomorrow and also Monday. I am very conscious that today's event was about us sharing information with you, but Friday and Monday's event is really important because it's an opportunity for you to ask questions from us. Because we want to make sure that all of our conversations are two-way conversations. So you will be receiving an email this evening with a link to that event where you can ask questions tonight and they will be answered tomorrow, or you can ask them over the weekend and they'll be answered on Monday. But that event will be open from tonight, but you may not get a response until tomorrow morning. But we will be there to answer as many questions as we can. Okay, so I'm trusting everybody can see the screen which I'm sharing at the moment, which is around postgraduate funding. And these particular slides are focused on our domestic and EU students. But for any non-EU students, I would just like to remind you that you can follow the link within the chat function, where you will be able to join the meeting with our international office. Okay, so if you're there today, as Louisa touched on earlier on, one of the barriers for people completing postgraduate study is postgraduate funding, which is very real in today's world for us. So if you're sitting there today and you're wondering how will I fund my postgraduate study, I suppose there's 5 funding opportunities that I just want to introduce you to today. I won't be going into them in massive detail, but instead I just want to make you aware of what exists. So there's 5 different opportunities. We've got our postgraduate student grant scheme. We've got a tax relief scheme. There is DCU financial support. We would encourage students to get support or contribution from their employers. And then there are options to get education loans from different financial institutes across Ireland. In terms of the postgraduate student grant scheme, so this is a fee and maintenance grant. It is managed by SUSI, which is Ireland's national awarding authority for all further and higher education grants. The grant itself is worth €4,000. Last year it was worth €3,500. It's been increased by €500 to make it a total value of €4,000. In terms of qualifying for this event, qualifying for this particular grant, there's 6 different things that you will be assessed on. 1, your nationality. 2, where you reside. You will be means tested in terms of your financial situation. You must be completing an approved course of study. You must be progressing from a previous level of study. And finally, you can only avail of this grant for a set number of years. But this does exist and it's definitely worth everybody looking into. Number 2 is postgrad tax relief scheme. So basically this is tax relief given to postgrad study. So you can claim tax relief up to €7,000 per person per course per academic year. So tax relief is given at a standard rate of 20%. So that's 20% of 7,000 minus the disregarded amount. That disregarded amount may vary from year to year, and it also varies from part-time students to full-time students. So I've got two examples on screen at the moment. Over the left-hand side, we've got Peter, who is a full-time postgraduate student. So for instance, if his course fees were €11,000, he can get maximum tax relief of €7,000. The disregard rate for this year is €3,000. So minus €3,000 is equivalent to 4,000, or equates to €4,000. And tax relief on 20% of that equates to €800. If we were to look at Sarah over to the right-hand side, who's a part-time postgraduate student, her fees come in at €7,500 a year. So there's a maximum tax relief again of €7,000. The disregard rate for a part-time student is €1,500. So 7,000 minus 1,500 is 5,500, and she is entitled to claim back 20% of that, which equates to €1,100. This is not means tested, which is the most important thing to note. It's not means tested. So basically, if you are completing postgrad study, this is definitely something that you should look into and apply for. Opportunity number 3 is looking at DCU financial support. So I've got two things listed on this particular slide. So first up, we've got our DCU reduced master's fee. I had touched on this earlier on in the event. So this is a 10% reduction in fees for any DCU alumni. So it's a 10% reduction in your postgrad fees for any DCU alumni. And then the final one is we do have DCU scholarships and awards available to postgraduate students. They come in the form of sports scholarships as well as academic scholarships. I won't go into these in massive detail, but all of the information is on our website as well. Opportunity number 4 is employer contribution. So most workplaces do understand the importance and the benefit of lifelong learning, and their employees constantly updating their knowledge and their skills. So if you are in employment and you're thinking about going back to do part-time postgraduate study, it is worth checking in with your HR department to see will they contribute or support your postgraduate fees. We would always say when people, I suppose, are approaching their employer that they should do their research, they should form a business case, they should get an early application in, and then they should always try and make contact or influence the decision maker. So there are 4 really key points that you must do to increase your chances or your likelihood of securing contribution or support from your employer. And then finally is another, I suppose, popular way for people to fund their postgraduate study. So that is by availing of the financial institutions within Ireland and getting education loans. In terms of securing this, who do you speak to? So we would advise you, if you were to contact any financial institution across Ireland, you should ask, can you speak with the student advisor? And that student advisor will be best placed to advise you on the type of loan which you should secure, the interest rates, and so on. So I suppose there are 5 different ways in which we would encourage students to look into or research around funding your postgrad course. And again, I will be sharing these slides with everyone after the event today, so you can reference these yourself and you can find more information online. But as a reminder, again, we do have that Q&A session happening tomorrow, Friday, and also on Monday the 12th, where you can ask more questions from us and we will share as much information as we can. So that's it from ourselves today. It's bang on 15 minutes past 5 at the moment, which is the time at which we were hoping to finish up at. I would like to thank everyone for joining us here today. I do hope you got some value in the information that we shared with you, and be it from myself or else our current and past students. The purpose of today was to share as many insights as we could with you about postgraduate study within DCU. As I said, we are here not just tomorrow and Monday to answer questions, but we are here over the next number of weeks and months to answer as many questions that you may have. In the meantime, we would like to wish you the very best of luck with your research around postgrad study. We'd like to wish you a very happy Christmas and also a very happy New Year. And hopefully we will see and hear from you in the future, and hopefully see you in DCU at some point in the next 12 months. But thanks everybody for attending today's event, and we hope you have a lovely evening.